What if Carl Jung discovered something so dangerous that it had to be silenced? And today, Darius is confirming it through his out-of-body experiences.
Okay, that's a hell of an opening. But think about this for a second. We all know Jung as the father of analytical psychology, right? Dreams, archetypes, the collective unconscious. Safe, academic stuff.
Exactly. That's the sanitized version they teach in universities. But there's another Jung, one who spoke with entities, who believed consciousness extends far beyond the brain, who documented experiences that sound eerily similar to what modern practitioners, like Darius, report.
And here's the kicker. This wasn't just theory for Jung. He was having direct contact with what he called autonomous psychic figures. Sound familiar?
Right. While Jung was mapping the psyche from his study in Switzerland, he was essentially describing the same territories that Darius navigates consciously through out-of-body travel today.
So what we're looking at here is a bridge between two worlds. Jung's forbidden psychological insights and Darius's direct experiential proof. And that bridge, it might just be the key to understanding consciousness itself.
Today, we're diving deep into this connection because what Jung called dangerous knowledge might actually be the roadmap to your own awakening.
Buckle up. We're about to explore the shadow gate that both men discovered from very different angles.
So let's talk about the Jung they don't teach you about in Psychology 101. Most people know him for dream analysis and personality types, but there's this whole other side that got quietly swept under the academic rug.
Oh, you mean the Jung who wrote the Red Book? The one who spent years documenting conversations with entities that appeared to him during what he called active imagination?
Exactly. And here's what's wild. Jung didn't think these were just symbolic figures from his unconscious. He believed they were autonomous beings with their own intelligence and agenda.
Right, like Philemon, this wise old man figure who Jung said taught him things he didn't already know. Jung literally said, I held conversations with him, and he said things which I had not consciously thought.
And this is where it gets controversial. Jung wasn't just saying consciousness is bigger than we think. He was suggesting it exists independently of the brain, that we can actually communicate with intelligences beyond our individual psyche.
Which, let's be honest, sounds a lot more like shamanism or mysticism than psychology. No wonder the academic world got uncomfortable.
Exactly. They were fine with Jung talking about archetypes as abstract concepts, but when he started suggesting these archetypes might be actual entities you can dialogue with, that crossed a line.
And then there's his work on synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that suggest reality operates more like a web of interconnected consciousness than a mechanical universe.
Right. Jung was essentially proposing that mind and matter aren't separate, that consciousness can influence physical reality through what he called psychoid processes.
So here's the forbidden part. Jung wasn't just creating a new therapy model. He was suggesting that the entire materialist worldview is incomplete, that there are dimensions of reality we can access through expanded states of consciousness.
And for that kind of thinking to come from someone with Jung's credentials, that was dangerous. It threatened the entire scientific establishment. Now, fast forward about a century, and you've got Darius having experiences that read like Jung's Red Book, except he's not calling them active imagination, he's calling them direct reality.
Right. And Darius's journey started in a very relatable place, sleep paralysis. Most people would just see that as a scary neurological glitch, but Darius recognized it as a doorway.
And through that doorway, he starts encountering entities, not symbols, not metaphors, actual conscious beings with distinct personalities and knowledge systems, like Celeste, who becomes this ongoing guide and teacher.
Which is fascinating because Jung had Philemon and Darius has Celeste. Different centuries, different methods, but the same basic phenomenon. Contact with autonomous intelligences.
But here's where Darius goes beyond Jung. While Jung was mostly working through meditation and visualization, Darius is literally leaving his body and traveling to these encounters.
Exactly. He's not just having conversations in his study, he's visiting what he calls consciousness fields and accessing information that he can later verify in physical reality.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Darius describes accessing akashic records, getting downloads of information, even meeting other out-of-body travelers in shared spaces.
So what Jung theorized as the collective unconscious, Darius experiences as actual explorable territories. It's like Jung drew the map, and Darius is the explorer who's actually walking the terrain.
And the entities Darius encounters, they're not just wise old men or feminine figures like Jung's archetypes. He's meeting beings that seem to exist across multiple dimensions with knowledge systems that span way beyond human psychology.
Which brings up this mind-bending possibility. What if Jung's autonomous psychic figures weren't projections from his unconscious at all? What if they were actual entities that both Jung and Darius learned to perceive and communicate with?
That would mean Jung wasn't just developing psychological theory, he was pioneering a form of interdimensional communication that Darius has now perfected through conscious out-of-body travel.
And if that's true, then everything we think we know about the nature of consciousness and reality needs a serious update.
So let's map this out, because the parallels between Jung and Darius are almost too perfect to be coincidence. It's like they're describing the same reality using completely different languages.
Right. Jung speaks in psychological terms, archetypes, the collective unconscious, active imagination, but strip away the academic language, and what is he really describing?
Exactly. He's talking about accessing non-local consciousness, communicating with autonomous intelligences, and tapping into information fields that exist beyond individual awareness.
And Darius? He's doing the exact same thing, just without the psychological framework. He calls it consciousness fields, akashic records, entity contact, but the underlying experience is identical.
It's like Jung was the theoretical physicist and Darius is the astronaut. Jung calculated that other dimensions of consciousness exist, and Darius actually travels there.
And here's what blows my mind. Both of them emphasize that this isn't passive reception. Jung talked about active imagination requiring genuine dialogue, not just fantasy.
Right. And Darius describes these interactions as completely autonomous. The entities have their own agendas, their own knowledge, their own personalities that surprise him.
So we're not talking about wishful thinking or projection. Both Jung and Darius are describing encounters with genuinely independent intelligences.
And both discovered that accessing these realms requires a specific kind of consciousness shift. Jung called it transcendent function, the bridge between conscious and unconscious.
While Darius describes it as learning to maintain awareness while your consciousness separates from your physical body. Different techniques, same fundamental skill.
But here's where Darius takes it further. Jung mostly accessed this through meditation and visualization in his study. Darius is literally traveling through multiple dimensions, visiting specific locations, meeting other travelers.
It's like Jung discovered the principle of flight, and Darius built the airplane. The same aerodynamics, but now we're actually soaring through the territories Jung could only theorize about.
And the implications? If both Jung and Darius are right, then consciousness isn't produced by the brain. It's a field we can learn to navigate. And that changes everything about human potential. So here's the million-dollar question. How far can science stretch to accommodate what Jung theorized and Darius experiences? Because we're talking about phenomena that challenge our entire understanding of reality.
It's fascinating timing, right? Jung was ahead of his time, but now we've got quantum physics suggesting that consciousness might be more fundamental than matter. Suddenly his ideas don't sound so crazy.
Exactly. When quantum physicists talk about observer effect and consciousness collapsing wave functions, they're basically validating Jung's idea that mind and matter are interconnected.
And then you've got things like quantum entanglement. Instant connection across any distance. That sounds a lot like Jung's synchronicity and Darius's descriptions of accessing information fields that exist outside space-time.
Right, but here's what's wild. Darius isn't waiting for science to catch up. He's already operating from this expanded model of reality and getting consistent, verifiable results.
Which puts him in this interesting position. He's like a practical mystic using techniques that Jung could only theorize about to explore territories that mainstream science is just beginning to acknowledge might exist.
And the implications are staggering. If consciousness can truly operate independently of the brain, if we can access information through non-local means, if we can communicate with autonomous intelligences,
then everything we think we know about human potential needs a complete overhaul. We're not just biological machines having hallucinations, we're consciousness itself, temporarily focused through a physical form.
Jung opened the door with symbols and theory. Darius walked through it with full conscious awareness. And now he's mapping the territory on the other side.
But here's what gives me chills. If Jung was right about all this a century ago, using nothing but careful observation and brilliant intuition, what else might he have known that we're still not ready to hear?
And what does it mean for the rest of us? If both Jung and Darius are pointing to the same fundamental truth about consciousness, maybe it's time to stop treating these experiences as anomalies and start seeing them as our birthright.
Because at the end of the day, both men are saying the same thing. Consciousness is not contained by the brain, reality is far more mysterious than we've been taught, and we all have the capacity to explore these expanded states ourselves.
Jung gave us the psychological framework. Darius gave us the practical proof. The question now is, what are we going to do with this knowledge?
So let's bring this full circle. We started with a forbidden theory from one of psychology's greatest minds, and we end up with modern proof that consciousness is far more expansive than we've been taught.
Right. And the connection between Jung and Darius isn't just academic curiosity. It's a roadmap. Jung showed us the psychological principles, and Darius demonstrates the practical application.
Which brings me to a question I want to pose to everyone watching. Do you think Jung already knew the truth that we're now calling out-of-body experiences? Was he actually documenting interdimensional contact, not just psychological phenomena?
And here's another one. Have you ever had experiences that felt like more than just dreams or imagination? Maybe encounters with beings, downloads of information, or moments where you felt your consciousness expand beyond your body.
Because if Jung and Darius are right, these aren't anomalies. They're glimpses of your true nature. And the shadow gate they both discovered, that might be exactly what's been blocking your own breakthrough.
Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us about your own experiences with expanded states, shadow work, or moments when reality felt bigger than you'd been taught. Your story could be the key that unlocks someone else's awakening.
And if this conversation stirred something in you, if you felt that recognition when we talked about consciousness existing beyond the brain, hit subscribe and ring that bell, because we're just getting started exploring these forbidden territories.
Share this with someone who's ready for this level of conversation. Someone who's been sensing there's more to reality than what mainstream science admits. Sometimes we all need permission to explore beyond the accepted boundaries.
You've got 2 videos on your screen right now, each one diving deeper into these mysteries of consciousness. Click on the one that calls to you and continue this journey into the territories Jung mapped and Darius explores.
Because here's the truth Jung discovered and Darius proves. You're not just a body having consciousness experiences. You're consciousness itself temporarily wearing a physical form.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and remember, the shadow gate is always there, waiting for you to walk through.